friends. Welcome to this video episode, our first actual video episode of this Global Trade Adventure podcast for the World Trade Center, Kentucky. Very happy to have Dr. Omar Ayyash, President and CEO of the World Trade Center, back in the studio today. And obviously, Lee Lingo of Lingo Consulting. And we're going to talk about an interesting opportunity coming up in Vietnam with the World Trade Center. As always, Dr. Ayyash, I'll
Good morning, everyone.
This over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. It's good to be here. It's really exciting to start a new era. You know, our podcast, we launched it a couple of years ago, and it's been predominantly audio, and now we're moving into video. So this is really a moment in history that we're very excited about. Lee, it's good to have you here. How are you
Great to be here. I'm great.
Yeah. You know, Lee is one of those people that we've worked very closely with for a number of years. First of all, he used to sit on the board of the World Trade Center, and then he was also interim CEO. And from my personal perspective, he was one of those individuals that really helped me with my second stint with the World Trade Center, especially the first couple of weeks and into the first year. He was really very involved, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Lee.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah. So introduce yourself. Tell us about you. Give us your background. I know you've got a pretty impressive background.
I've spent the first half of my career working in business, working in different industry sectors. The second half of my career, I've spent a lot of time working for businesses on a nonprofit type basis. So chambers of commerce, membership associations, Kentucky Association of Manufacturers, and doing private consulting with businesses and industry as well.
How exciting. And you've also lived around the country, right? You've lived in a number of different places.
Yeah, I've moved around a bit. Spent time in Maryland and Michigan, Texas and Indiana. Spent time in Japan and England when I was in school. Traveled quite a bit. So I've been fortunate to be able to see a lot of different places.
Cool. We're glad to have you here today. So, you know, the focus of the World Trade Center has always been that we are here to help small, medium, and large companies navigate the international marketplace. And there's a number of ways that we do it, you know, whether it is through our trade advisory services, through our premier training programs, and through our trade missions. Today, we're going to focus really on the trade missions and the value they bring to Kentucky companies in the surrounding region in what they do. And many of you probably are very aware of what I have been doing for the last 3 years and continuing into this fourth year of my presidency is that we go every year to a trade mission to Dubai. And it's really picked up with momentum and excitement. But here we're going to focus on a little bit of a different country, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Lee, have you been on any of the trade missions hosted by the World Trade Center?
Sadly, I have not. I always had conflicts with different schedules and whatnot. But I know in the past, World Trade Center Kentucky has been to Canada. They went to Panama and Cuba, a couple other places. We've been to some really interesting places looking for opportunities for Kentucky businesses to reach out and grow. And you adding Dubai to that obviously scaled it up quite a bit, which is pretty exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, my first trade mission was in 97 with the World Trade Center.
Wow.
We went to Hong Kong just right as it was turned back over from the British to the
That's
Chinese.
Pretty incredible.
And it was just a phenomenal experience. And of course, I've been on many local trade missions with the World Trade Center Association, which we'll get to that. But Jim, you've been on our trade mission.
Yeah, I've been on the Dubai trade mission, which was absolutely fantastic. And I've also been involved when you've actually welcomed other delegations to Kentucky from outside. We've had various Canadian junkets coming in through town all the time. We've had some from the ASEAN nations.
Mm-hmm.
We did a nice roundabout.
That was a really good event.
Yeah, and a few others. So it's always been exciting. But thanks very much for the opportunity on the Dubai trip, and excited to hear about the new one.
Yeah, totally. So, you know, I mean, the key factor of doing a trade mission is it makes it easier on businesses that want to develop new markets, get into new places. And what we do is we really focus on opening doors for Kentucky businesses in these new markets. And I just recently came off of visiting Philadelphia for the Global Business Summit that the World Trade Center Association puts on every year. And we're lucky that it is in the United States this year. And next year, it's actually going to somewhere more even, I'm not going to say more exciting, but different. And that's, they're going to Vietnam. And this is where Lee and I started to connect because Lee has been spending quite a bit of time visiting Vietnam. So
Mhm.
tell us about your travels to Vietnam before we get on to what's happening next April in Vietnam.
I think it's really interesting, kind of to preface this. If you go back as we were younger growing up, I don't know how many people noticed, but I always sort of noticed the labels of where things were from. So we had made in China, made in Taiwan, made in Japan, hecho in Mexico. You just sort of see where the different things come from. And this is, as a kid, I wasn't aware of trade and goods and economies and things of that nature, but I happened to notice the tags, and I always thought it was sort of interesting. Vietnam has been on that list some, but it is really emerging now and coming into its own. It surpassed 500 billion in GDP just last year for the first time. Vietnam is the U.S.'s seventh largest trading partner, and we are their second largest behind China. So their economy has been growing substantially. In fact, they grew our bilateral trade between Vietnam and the U.S. grew 20% in 2024, 40% in 2025 to 26, which is an incredible. I mean, if you're looking at that on a graph, that's an incredible spike. And there's a lot of interesting opportunities and overlaps between what we in Kentucky have as primary sectors and what they have. I had the opportunity to travel and visit a friend 2 years ago. Vietnam was never on my punch list of places I was excited to go. Never even thought about going there. But my friend called and said, "Hey, come visit." And so I did. Spent 10 days there, visit the American Chamber of Commerce, Vietnam, went to several of their meetings, took a ride out and visited the folks at the World Trade Center in Bin Dong, had great meetings there. Just was really impressed with the opportunities that I saw. And that was just a vacation. I wasn't there to do business, but I was curious.
But I love how you tagged into the business part of it. You
Well,
couldn't help it,
yeah, I couldn't help it. I had some
Yeah.
free time. I'm a chamber guy, association guy, World Trade Center guy. So I want to know what they were doing and how they did it. Um, and so last year, got the opportunity to go back and visit that friend again. Spent 30 days there. 2 weeks of it was on a adventure bike, a motorcycle tour through northern Vietnam. Got to really see the other side of Vietnam, the very rural side. Uh, the person I was visiting was in Ho Chi Minh City, so that's obviously major metro. It's like New York City, but seeing the rural side and the ag side was really really fascinating, and just paying more attention to the kinds of things that Kentucky has to offer that weren't there, and wondering why. Bourbon is a key particular uh, beverage that has had strong growth in other parts of the world, but bourbon is not there yet. Um, and so now I'm going back a third time. I'm leaving on the 14th of this month. So this will be my third trip back. I'm going to be visiting again with folks from the American Chamber of Commerce, Vietnam. I've got some meetings with the World Trade Center, Vietnam. I'm going to the Vietnam Industry and Trade Show to see.
How large is it?
They're going to have 600 vendors there. They're expecting about 30,000 people to go through the doors. It's their largest trade show showcase, and it's everything from robotics, automation, chip manufacturing. Um, it's very industrially focused, but there's a lot of overlap with what they're doing and what they're growing into with what Kentucky does. So I'm gonna meet with a number of vendors while I'm there, and try to find some opportunities where there's connective opportunities here and there.
That's great. And this is really, Lee is really going to set the stage. And this is where we make the big announcement. So next year, World Trade Center Kentucky is doing a trade mission to the Global Business Summit
Yep.
hosted by the World Trade Center Association in partnership with the World Trade Center of Vietnam. And I cannot under or overemphasize is really the appropriate word, 330 World Trade Centers in 91 countries.
hmm
The network of being a member of the World Trade Center is on a local level, national level, international level.
Yes.
You get to partner up with Kentucky companies in the surrounding region that are doing global trade.
hmm
You get to partner up with the World Trade Center Association, whether it's the Miami World Trade Center or the Denver World Trade Center or the network domestically, and then you get to operate within the global network.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about this partnership. So, getting you to go and knock on some doors and get us ready for taking a delegation of at least 10 or 15 companies from here in Kentucky. The Global Business Summit, April 4th through the 7th on the year 2027. How exciting is that, Lee?
Super. And I think now's a good time to drop the sizzle reel.
There are places that capture your attention and places that make you want to discover more. Vietnam is becoming one of them. A country rich in culture, history, and tradition, where every street tells a story and every moment feels alive. From its world-renowned cuisine to vibrant cities filled with energy and possibility, Vietnam is not just a place to visit, it is a place to experience. And today, it is also becoming a place where the world comes to connect. A growing destination for global business, international events, and new opportunities. At the center of this transformation lies Ho Chi Minh City, a dynamic metropolis where culture, commerce, and innovation come together. A city alive with movement and a growing landscape of exhibitions and global gatherings. Today, this greater metropolitan area contributes around 1/3 of Vietnam's total GDP, making it one of Southeast Asia's most important economic centers. For years, Binh Duen has been one of Vietnam's leading industrial hubs, home to thousands of international manufacturers. Now, as part of a nationwide administrative restructuring, it is a ward within Ho Chi Minh City, part of a larger, unified economic zone. With greater connectivity and room for growth, new opportunities are beginning to take shape. Supporting this transformation is Bakemex, a pioneer in developing integrated industrial, urban, and innovation ecosystems, helping build an environment where industry, cities, and ideas grow together. This ecosystem not only drives economic growth, but also creates the conditions for international exchange, where investment, ideas, and global collaboration can come together in one place. At the center of it all is World Trade Center Binh Duen New City, part of a global network connecting businesses across continents. This is where the world meets, through exhibitions, conferences, and international forums, where ideas are exchanged, partnerships are built, and opportunities take shape. In 2027, the world will come together in Vietnam, not only to connect and do business, but to experience a destination full of energy, culture, and possibility. Join us at the WTCA Global Business Forum 2027. Come and discover Vietnam, where the world meets and where what comes next begins.
So technically, reacting to a couple of things that you've said, Lee, if I had a magic wand right now
hmm
and made almost everything disappear that's imported in the United States, we probably wouldn't be sitting on this couch. We probably wouldn't be talking to this mic. Your part of your glasses might not be, the frames on your eyewear might not be from here. And that's the kind of situation. That's how important global trade is
hmm
to our daily life. On the same situation, when trade policy and the how any administration in the United States have used trade policy, whether it is to protect industry or to shift the relations and things of that nature, there's always a movement of trade. It doesn't stop. So, in the last 25 years, maybe a lot of our business was to China or coming from China.
Right.
Where now, if we were to look at the numbers, and the reason you brought in all this growth that's happening is a lot of the American companies are shifting their supply chain into countries like Vietnam, and for sure into places like Mexico. So Vietnam is a very important partner of the United States when it comes to international trade, and we want to create that opportunity for people there. Now, on a day-to-day life, Lee, how is it interacting with the Vietnamese community? How easy was it? How wonderful was it?
Super easy. There's a lot of similarities, and of course, there's a lot of differences too. One of the starkest, I love food, and I probably look like it, but
you're not the only one.
Yeah, the food there is so fresh. There are so many street vendors who buy fresh goods. They'll have a special of the day, and that's all they make. And it'll have some sort of a protein, and then fresh vegetables that were delivered that morning. And so you're eating the freshest of the fresh every time you sit down for that lunch, at the street vendor. And it's about $2. It's unbelievable. It's
$2?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy.
We're going.
It's crazy. Now, there are nice, fancy restaurants too. These are just small street vendors, but the food is exceptional, and it's just in their garage. There is a hustle and bustle, especially in Ho Chi Minh City, that you would expect to see in any large city. Just people moving back and forth. What's interesting, you talk about trade, but if you look at trade or just the economy, it's like water. It finds a way. It's going to go somewhere. It never sits still. People are always going to buy goods, and they're going to find the best place to buy goods at the best price for them, right? And so that's why trade has kind of, or sources for goods have hopped from country to country over, kind of what we were talking about in our lifetime. What we're seeing now in Vietnam is an amazing trajectory. What's even more sort of idealistic for this time is that with the Trump administration and their diplomatic relations with Vietnam, they are now giving America preferential treatment for importing and at zero tariffs. So if we are exporting to Vietnam, our goods are going in at zero tariffs, which is exactly what we want. So when you think about industries like bourbon that's really largely untapped in that market, that's usually something that's tariffed pretty heavily. This is a perfect opportunity for our bourbon friends. They're big in importing ag products. So, for instance, soybeans, and we've had trouble moving soybeans, especially to our traditional buyers in China. This is a great opportunity to find a new market for our soy products that are coming from here. But then they have tech products too. They're moving very fast into semiconductors, and Kentucky is one of the leaders in that space due to our investment and leadership in EV battery technologies. Those are things that are paired very well together. And they're trying to upskill and train people into that space, and that's something that we know quite a bit about. So there's even opportunities on the educational and service levels, not just on those levels. What's really cool about this, though, is you and I started talking about this 3 years ago. You remember after my first trip, I said, we've got to have a trade mission to Vietnam. And that was after meeting with all those folks. Last year was the election. Lots of changes from administrative point of view. Things have settled down. People have figured out largely how to work within this administration's needs and desires. Now is the time to do it. And of course, they're having the event next year, which is absolutely perfect. So I'm excited that I'm going this time, in a week, because I'm going to be laying the groundwork for our trip. The event that we're going to April 4th through the 7th next year is going to be a great concentration of businesses from across the globe that are connected to the World Trade Centers in their region, right?
That's right.
Fantastic. What we're going to
global in Vietnam.
Right. So you're going to be able to meet with people from anywhere else as well. What we're going to be doing and what I'm going to be working on this trip is adding on to that. So what can we do? What sort of meetings can we have and facilitate that are people on the ground through the connections that I've been making?
Yeah, one of the things that I always like to do, and I'm glad that we started the conversation, and at the same time, I'm glad that I just went to the Global Business Summit hosted by the World Trade Center Association through our Philadelphia World Trade Center. But I always like to have an anchor event for a trade mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of the successes that we did with Dubai is GITEX, which is the largest technology trade show in the world. That's our anchor event.
Mm-hmm.
And we use these anchor events to, get people in front of the global audience. And that's what we'll do in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
But then through the relationships that you have already started establishing and you will be establishing, you sort of scaffold the relationship on the side. So you've got April 4th through the 7th. We're at the Global Business Summit. There'll be B2B matchmaking with other World Trade Centers, with other businesses and things of that nature. But maybe the day before, the day after, during the dinners, this is where we would go meet with the embassy officials, the American Embassy. We will meet with the Chamber of Commerce, the American Chamber of Commerce in Hanoi or in Vietnam, and then other businesses that we pick on. And, I'm curious, I'm going to dig a little deeper. I'm curious to know from your experience and your relationships in those markets already, how has your experience been working with the World Trade Center in Vietnam?
Oh, really good. Like I said, I was there on vacation, and I just basically, sent a blank, or not blank, but a blind email and said, hey, I'm involved with the World Trade Center in Kentucky. I'd love to come out and see your shop and see what it's like. Different World Trade Centers focus on different things. And some of the World Trade Centers focus on sort of the real estate holdings. What's interesting in Mendong, the World Trade Center there is it's an event space that has the World Trade Center in it. And so they host these trade shows, and they're going to host the World Trade Centers Association event next year. But this is in this city that was designed very purposefully from the inside out. It wasn't organic in how it grew. They knew that they wanted to cluster industries, so they found land and figured out how to do that. Then they added housing for the employees of those clustered industries. Then they added schools to teach the kids of the households who were in those clustered industries and skill them up. They built hospitals. Everything was built around this concept of this city is going to be built as a economic engine. And you see that when you go through there. It's pretty mind-blowing.
It sounds a lot like Dubai, actually, doesn't it?
It does. Expo City is exactly that, where, the GITEX trade show has been typically in the center of Dubai, but now it's going to be moving out to Expo City, and it's exactly what Lee is describing.
Very purpose-built.
Exactly. And from my perspective, again, big shout out to Dubai World Trade Center, to the Sharjah World Trade Center, to the Abu Dhabi World Trade Center, because they really provide red carpet service to the Kentucky delegation when we get there. And I'm sure the World Trade Center in Vietnam will do the same.
Well, we've actually been talking, and they are... they're going to be on my podcast, and we're going to talk about business in Vietnam and what that looks like. So I'm excited to talk to the CEO on my podcast while I'm over there. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, no, I was going to say, recently we had Brad Cummings on from EQL Games, and you all were talking about, as he took his business globally, he really began to really underscore the importance of that FaceTime. And we're not talking about on your phone. We're talking about face-to-face interactions and meetings. And when you look at what the World Trade Center Dubai did for us, all of the meetings that between the two of you, your organization here locally and the organization over there, the way they were able to set up face-to-face meetings with key people, not just, hey, we've got some people coming in. Could you show them around a little bit? These were decision makers. These were people who could open doors for us, who could actually have substantive conversations. And I think Brad in his episode actually, really underscored the value of that. And that's exactly what you're talking about in Vietnam is that they are looking to establish business and personal relationships. And I think that's the essence of international business. It really starts in that face-to-face interaction, that breaking bread with someone, that sitting across the table and getting to know them as individuals, and then the business relationship typically follows.
To that point, I was at an AmCham Vietnam event that first year.
It's the American Chamber of Commerce.
American Chamber of Commerce Vietnam. They call them AmChams when they're abroad. I was at an event where some of the U.S. national delegation was there to speak to businesses about global initiatives at the time. And one of the people at my table and I struck up a conversation. Turns out her firm did the greenfield development for Fruit of the Loom when they decided to look for a new place to produce their products in Vietnam.
Yep.
And so there's a direct Kentucky connection there, which was what are the odds that I'm in some random country on vacation? I decided to go to a business meeting. I'm sitting there talking to somebody who actually knows where Bowling Green, Kentucky is. I mean,
that's fantastic.
It was like crazy, and so it's we've continued to foster that relationship, and we're looking for other opportunities to work together, and they're looking for opportunities where they can bring Vietnamese technology know-how investment companies to Kentucky. So it's amazing how small the world is.
Yeah.
So here you are, sitting in the heartland of America, thinking that, why is international trade important for the state of Kentucky? And why would a trade mission to Vietnam help a Kentucky business develop? What are your thoughts on that, Jim and Lee?
Well, again, I think it's that firsthand exposure. You can read a lot about a country and maybe a culture, but you really learn so much more just walking down the street. Seeing how they conduct business, seeing what the vibe, if you will, what that looks like, getting a feel for it, and then making those personal introductions to where when you come back, you've got sort of a place to land, at least socially.
That's it, for sure.
And you get to know those people because, again, people do business with other people, not necessarily other companies or organizations. And when that personal relationship has been established, it's so much easier to progress to a commercial relationship, and that's ultimately why you're going in the first place. But if you don't have that personal knowledge going over, again, a Zoom call is fine. A Teams meeting is fine, but nothing beats face-to-face interaction. And I think that's what you get when you go over to a new environment, a new culture.
Yeah, it does. And to your point, it takes a couple of visits. The first visit is kind of getting your feet wet, meeting people, and just soaking it all in.
Yeah.
The second visit is generally when you start to clue in on things specific to you and your needs. Our fellow friends who are in global supply chain management at the World Trade Center, we have talked about this quite a bit. They have those relationships that they have cultivated over time, and so whether it's creating opportunities for new Papa John's locations to open up in a new market, or to buy a specific ag product that's going to make color that's going to be put into some other product, you've got to find those connectors, and that's how you start that process. And while you don't have to be on the ground there all the time, you've got to meet and foster relationships with people that you get to know there, who are going to have your interests at heart because they're aligned with theirs.
But the key advantage that we bring is that we already fast track those relationships.
Exactly.
By you going over there 3 times and knocking on some doors, and by me spending 15 odd years in the market in the UAE,
right?
And using the network. We fast track those relationships.
The network is key.
It is.
If we don't know somebody, if I don't know somebody, you don't know somebody, and you don't know somebody, we know who to call who does know somebody. And see, that's the thing with economic development and community development. It's all about having access to people who know what you need to know and where to find that. So let's talk a little bit about Kentucky trade. We set another record this year. What was our
50 billion, more than 50 billion. I don't know the exact number, but it's in the neighborhood of 50 billion.
So back in 2015, about the time I started getting involved with the World Trade Center, we set a record then, and it was 14 billion.
Okay.
I think. So, I mean,
yeah, I've been using the $48 billion number like a couple of years ago, but just announced.
Our growth curve has been substantial.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because Kentucky really punches above its weight in the manufacturing sector from a per capita place.
And the World Trade Center has done all of that, you know.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Kentucky was fifth in manufacturing per capita the last I checked. We're a tiny state, and that's comparing us to the Midwest, to California, some of these other big states that are powerhouses. Now, if we're at 50 billion, do you know what the trade is to Vietnam? Do you know where they rank?
Not exactly, do you?
They don't.
Okay.
As a trick question, but the point of that is this is a completely open market for Kentucky to grow our 50 billion
With zero tariffs
to something else with zero tariffs, right? So now is the time for us to find ways to go that direction.
Did you hear that?
Yes. And so that's why we're laying this sort of groundwork of, let's get this set up. Let's have a fantastic first trade mission to Vietnam as you're continuing these trade missions to Dubai. At the tail end of my visit to Vietnam, I'm going to Romania next. So I'll be doing the same thing there. I'll be meeting with the World Trade Center in Bucharest, the AmCham in Bucharest, and starting the same thing in that direction. So
fantastic.
Let's continue to try to find opportunities where Kentucky businesses who want to grow, want to find new opportunities to sell their products or services can find new markets for that. There's the sort of adage that, the majority of the market that you have available to you is outside of your state border. Well, it's certainly outside of the national border, right? And so if you're making ski scooties, or, if you've got a hemp product,
felt loom,
bourbon,
automotive,
aerospace.
Yeah.
There are certainly so many market opportunities that we just aren't tapped into. And the World Trade Center is one of the best organizations to work through to pursue those. There are others, but the World Trade Center has the best network.
Thank you, Lee. The infrastructure is in place.
Yeah.
The way I look at it. Definitely call the World Trade Center. We'll get you connected, whether it is on a local level, national level, or international level. But also in terms of, when you think about, the logistics aspect of it. We're a 7-hour drive from 2/3 of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons manufacturing is booming. And you cannot deny that, the logistics companies, the UPSs of the world, the DHLs of the world, the FedExes of the world,
Amazon,
are here.
Yeah.
And we're here to support in every aspect. So, Lee, we look forward to hearing about your travels when you come back.
Look forward to sharing the updates.
And, for any business owner in the state of Kentucky and the surrounding region, we don't only take Kentucky businesses, we take actually businesses from across the globe. Right.
We've all got friends all over the place. You're welcome to join us.
Want to be part of this upcoming Vietnam trade mission.
April 4th through 7th is the trade show that we're going to, 2027. Want to make sure we get the date out there.
Exactly. Global Business Summit, organized by the World Trade Center Association, hosted by the World Trade Center Vietnam, and the Kentucky World Trade Center is going to be organizing a trade mission to that. So join up.
It's going to be epic. We look forward to you joining us for some good Kentucky hospitality while we're visiting Vietnam.
Outstanding. Friends, I hope you found that exciting. I mean, it's big news for us. We're excited about launching this foray into Vietnam and really developing some personal and some business relationships while we're over there. Once again, this is our first video episode, so do us a favor. connect with us on Facebook, connect with us on LinkedIn, and let us know, what did you think? How did you like it? If you want to be a guest on the podcast, by all means, we're always looking for guests to bring on. So reach out to us as well if you have an interest in that. But Lee, I want to thank you and wish you,
Thanks, Jim.
Godspeed and just a lot of good luck as you get ready to leave here in just a matter of a few days, actually.
Yeah.
So best of luck with that. Omar, always good to see you. Thanks for all your hard work.
Jim.
And by the way, we're getting ready for the World Trade Day.
Yes.
Coming up in August here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we're going to hand out the Martha Lane Collins Award, kind of bringing all that back. We're really excited about that. So do you want to mention just a couple of comments in passing about World Trade Day?
Yes. One of Kentucky's largest international business events is happening this August the 25th and the 26th. At the Marriott East here in Louisville. We are very excited that we're going to be having about 20 different countries represented, meaning their chambers of commerce, like what we've been talking about, their consulates, their ambassadorship, and things of that nature. The sole purpose why they're coming to Kentucky is to connect with businesses here in Kentucky, to help them develop markets in their country, or whether it's import, export, foreign direct investment. And we're very excited about having breakfast keynote speakers from a national perspective, talking about international trade and things of that nature. But we're also bringing global keynote speakers that are flying in from very far countries to share their economic development stories. And last but not least, one of the most important things that we're doing is we have relaunched the Martha Lane Collins Award for International Trade Excellence, and there'll be fantastic Kentucky companies getting that award. And we want you there. August the 25th, 26th here in Louisville.
Well, friends, once again, a lot of exciting things going on for the World Trade Center, Kentucky. So from all of us here at This Global Trade Adventure podcast, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back shortly. Take care. Bye-bye.